Hi, this is Preetha and you're watching Dakshin Curry. Whenever we talk about festivals, there's always good food attached, right? I usually wait for Naivedyam, and that is the time that kills me really, you know. Mummy has to make the Naivedyam, and only after that you're supposed to taste what she has made. Now there is this particular festival called as Thiruvathirai, and at that time there are these two recipes which are really delicious. One is savoury and one is sweet, which is made together and it is served as Naivedya. Yeah, it's quite weird, right? A savoury preparation and a sweet, yeah. So the savoury preparation is called as Ezhu Curry Kootu, and in Tamil Ezhu actually means 7. Now this kootu is made with a combination of native vegetables. You are supposed to use combination of native vegetables and not vegetables like carrots and French beans and all that. We'll get into all that later. But like I told you earlier, let us know how to make Thiruvathirai Ezhu Curry Kootu. Some people also call it as Thiruvathirai Ezhu Curry Kolumbu. Let's have a look at the ingredients that go into the Ezhu Curry Kootu. Now the first ingredient is this Kootu Paste. Now to make this Kootu Paste, what I have used is chana dal, I have used dhania, that's coriander seeds. I have also used a little bit of red chilies and coconut, and I have nicely roasted it in oil and then ground it. We'll get to the paste later. Apart from that, like I told you, Ezhu Curry Kootu. So there are these 7 vegetables that we are using. Let's have a look at those vegetables. I am using raw banana here, red pumpkin, suran, which is also called as elephant's foot. I am also using arbi or colocasia. This here is called avarakkai. Now this is one of the most important ingredients. This kootu is not complete without the use of avarakkai. So we'll be using a few of these. It's also called as papdi. Apart from that, what I have here is mochakotte. Mochakotte is also called as val. I've used fresh val in the recipe, and traditionally we use fresh val. But say for some reason you're not able to find that, you can also use the dried version. All you need to do is soak it overnight. If you're using the dried version, soak it overnight and then pressure cook it for say 3 whistles along with salt and turmeric. I have done the same thing with the fresh variety, just that obviously there's no soaking required. Also the proportion that I have taken of the mochakotte is a little more than the other ingredients. So if I've used 1/4 cup of the rest of the ingredients, rest of the vegetables, I've used ½ cup of that. That's because I love the flavor. Again, you can balance out the proportions of your vegetables. Just ensure that you're taking each one of these ingredients. Apart from that, sweet potato, gooseberry sized tamarind dissolved in water, pinch of turmeric, salt to taste, oil for tempering, mustard seeds, pinch of hing, curry leaves and grated coconut. Now as you can see, there are a lot of vegetables that need to get cooked, right? So we should not waste time. Let's start. I have a kadhai here. The easiest way to do it would be in a pressure cooker. I would agree on that if somebody tells me, Preetha, why are you not making it in the pressure cooker? I don't have an induction cooker right now, which is why I am using this. But if you do make it in a cooker, it's easier. And obviously whenever you're going to cook your vegetables in a pressure cooker along with water, do not discard the water, please use it in the recipe. Now what I'm going to do is add little bit of water, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the vegetables which take time to cook. I'm going to add those first. Because you have ingredients like papdi, you would always want that it should look, you know, nice and green. But in this kootu it kind of loses its color. Put the bananas also, though bananas don't take a lot of time for cooking. What I am going to do is I am going to add the red pumpkin, the avarakkai, and the mochakotte is already cooked, so I will be adding that later. Let's add water, enough water for this to cook. I will not add tamarind now. What I am going to do is I am going to cook these vegetables first, and once these are like half cooked, I'll add the tamarind and the rest of the vegetables. In goes a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of salt. Salt always facilitates faster cooking. Little bit, not much. Let's just give this a mix. And not too much water, you want your vegetables to be nicely cooked. That's about it. I'm going to cover this and cook. In the meanwhile, let's talk about the paste here. Now, like I've told you, I've taken 1 teaspoon of oil, not much, just enough oil to saute the ingredients till they give out a nice aroma. And what I did was first cook the dal and the dhania, which are in equal quantities, and after that I have added the chilies, and just before removing it from fire I have added the coconut. Let's have a look at how our vegetables are doing. As you can see, the water is kind of reduced, and when you look at it only you can make out that the sweet potatoes are cooked. The arbi is around half cooked, and let's check for the suran. Again it's cooked. Now what we'll do at this stage, I'll add my tamarind water. I am going to add 1 more cup of water because this gravy is going to get thick. Dunk in the rest. Do not discard the water in which you cook the mochakote. It absorbs a lot of flavor. That water is very flavorful. We'll add a red pumpkin and our avarakkai. And what I am going to do is, I am adding a little bit of hing. Not required to add actually at this stage. If you want, you can add hing dissolved in water, but what I am going to do is now just give this a mix. And again, now I am not going to add salt. I'll add salt once we add the paste. Again we are going to just heat this up and we are going to allow this to come to a boil. Let's have a look. Now the idea of covering and cooking this was basically so that the vegetables cook faster, but we want the raw smell of tamarind to go. So going to increase the flame and allow this to come to a nice boil. Let's have a look. Now the tamarind has kind of reduced, as you can see, and the vegetables are also cooked. At this stage we will add the paste. We will mix this up, and the way we make this is a little more like a gravy. Some people make it like a really thick variety, like the spices are just nicely coated on. But if you want, you can also serve it nice and thin like a sambar along with steamed rice and ghee. Now the minute you add this paste, what happens is there's an amazing aroma of dhania. And now what we are going to do is we will add the salt to taste. Now as you know, I added little salt in the beginning. So once I add the salt now, like I always do, I'll be checking for seasoning. And what we'll do is we'll allow this to simmer till the gravy is nice and thick. Let's taste for the salt. Nice and spicy, and the first flavor that hits you is definitely the coriander seeds. Now remember that you have to toast it in oil. If you're going to dry roast it, the flavor is a little different, but here the first flavor that hits you is the coriander and then it is the chilies. So let's allow it to simmer. So as you can see, our vegetables have cooked for nice 10 minutes. They've simmered really well in the gravy. What I've done is I've removed it onto a bowl. Now it's time to just finish the recipe. I have a pan here. What I'm going to do is add oil and I'm going to make the tadka. A very simple one, not too elaborate. Just crackle your mustard seeds, and once they are crackled, we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Now there's one thing to note, there are some recipes which also use sesame seeds in the powder. What they make is a powder with sesame seeds and little bit of urad dal. That's optional, but sesame seeds also goes. I'm sure that gives a different flavor. A little bit of curry leaves, a little bit of hing, and let's just toss this one, and then we'll add our coconut. And we'll just toast this for a couple of minutes. Just increase the flame. Now the coconut is completely optional. I've just added it because I feel it gives a nice crunch. If you want, you can use copra also. Let's switch this off. What we'll do is take a spoon here, and I'm just going to add this. So what are you waiting for? Make this recipe. Hit subscribe to India Food Network and keep watching Dakshin Curry. Until next time, it's Preetha signing off. Bye.